Hey everybody, welcome back to we still got the ambient music. Um, uh, Welcome to the first of the 2025 Author Talks by FrightReads. Hooray! I should find the sound for like clapping. Um, so what this is, if you saw us about 2, maybe 3 years ago, this might have been FrightReads, either 2 or 3. We went ahead and we gathered a bunch of authors and some not authors. We talked to therapists. We talked to a few artists. We talked to filmmakers. But generally speaking, it's author talks. I'm an author, so at all times it counts. So to kick this one off, it's pretty great. I put out the feelers for everybody initially. We didn't have in the last iteration. So we're going to talk to J.A. Barrios. I'm just checking to make sure we are streaming, if we're streaming, and making sure things are working. It says live. Live is good. So if I push the button for live, there's me. Beautiful. So if you are looking to check out the stream, I think it will save sometimes. I don't know. Facebook's changed their structure. But what we're going to do is, once you guys jump up in here, we are going to have a Q&A session. Feel free to ask questions, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be, what is your inspiration for writing? It's not necessarily to that degree. Whatever, let's see. Can't post to certain things. Let's see here. Anyway, I'm just trying to see what some of these, we're using a new system now. Things are getting a little bit more advanced. We have this fancy frame now. We have all of our updates for everything. So be sure to follow FrightReads.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, probably not Twitter X, because that is a absolute cesspool, and they told me I had to pay lots of money to stream there. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in author J.A. Barrios, the author of, I'm going to butcher the name, Tenebris. I think I got it right. Tenebris. I am actually in the middle of listening to the audiobook. He also has created a short story collection called Ravings of an Unsettled Mind, which I wrote words on the back of it. We're going to go ahead and bring in author J.A. Barrios. So everybody, yay, welcome him. Hooray, there he is. Yay.
Well, what's going on?
That took a whole second. I was like, click. I was like, and he, ta-da!
Poof!
Ta-da! Everybody, look over here. Look over here. Ta-da! So yeah. So thanks for diving on the grenade to be the very first one. What an exciting adventure this is.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Good to see you. It'll be fun to chat about some stuff. Always like being a guinea pig, so bring that grenade on.
Man, guinea pig is definitely. Let me see if I can share. So let me see. I'm just trying to. Hey, there we go. Just trying to get as many people to be able to see it. That isn't me, because it says one is watching, and I'm like, that's me. So yeah. We did this. You missed out on it last time. We had a handful of authors come through here, and the format's pretty simple. For anybody that's watching, like I said, just drop us questions. They don't have to be directly related to the books or inspiration or what makes you write, or those are the cliche questions. Get wild. What's your favorite band? Who's your favorite Muppet? Anything like that, drop them in the comments, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. You can direct them to either one of us. Just try to direct it to someone, or it'll just be a general question, and we'll just go ahead and answer it. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started with the author talks. Yay! So I'm just looking in here to see, to make sure that I haven't missed anything, but let's do that number. And let's look.
For the record, Animal is my favorite Muppet.
Animal is your favorite Muppet.
Yeah, he's got the wild hair. It's crazy.
Rizzo. It's Rizzo.
Oh, okay. Rizzo's
followed very closely by Pepe.
Okay. All right, yeah.
Wrong, okay. Yeah, so you come into a horror discussion and we talk about Muppets. That's where the money is.
Puppets are pretty terrifying. You know.
So Muppets are good. I actually I love when I still see comments that are like, "What is Gonzo supposed to be?" And I'm like, "Bro, it got answered in like '95. He's an alien."
Yeah, there's a whole movie about it.
They literally answered it. I'm vibing to the ambient music. Like, I was going to turn it off, but I was like, I kind of dig it.
Yeah, it's atmosphere.
If it becomes obnoxious, anybody leave a comment just to say, hey.
Music these days are too strange.
What is this? It's too mellow. I don't like it. Put on the really generic alt rock. It sounded nothing like alt rock. So as I mentioned in the introduction, I'm getting through your audiobook. I'm at the part with the lizard people.
Nice. That part.
Yeah, which is like page 1. No, actually, it's not page 1 because it's
it's like page 8 where they're first introduced. And
yeah, it's actually a few steps in. It's not quite page 1, but so I've been putting it off because I've seen this book in person and I just keep looking at it and going, nah, I know I'm not going to read it. I'm going to be very honest. It's a big one. It's a giant book, but I will tell you that we just finished reading a book for our book club, and it was much smaller, and nothing happened. I'm still waiting for something to happen. The book is done, and I'm waiting for anything to happen. Any kind of plot points, plot devices, some kind of change or a shift. I just want something, please. So the difference is with your book, on the other hand, it doesn't, I'm not going to use the word it starts slow, but it is kind of a slow burn into the universe that we are going to be in. Yeah. And you do a very good job of building us into that world where you have to set the theme of, this is what I'm going to be doing. If you don't like any of this, you may want to get off now.
Yeah.
You kind of set that scene, and then you kind of take us on a very interesting adventure with the Serpenoids. So I've heard your pitch about 1,000 times sitting next to you at events. But tell us about this book, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it up over here so you can talk about it here. Boom, there it is, and I'm going to put my head.
And over my shoulder is the original painting over there, done by Jamie Apgar.
That guy down there, yeah.
So Tenebris. Tenebris Book 1, The Unholy Darkness, is the pitch you've heard 1,000 times. You know, the dark fantasy twist of the biblical story of creation. What is it though? I don't know, it's me forming. I guess kind of starting off with my version of Big Bang meets creationism or whatever. There's truths in all the possibilities or something. And I really like what you said. What you said about it, just like it is, kind of like a slow start into it. And the way I always feel like the prologue is kind of like, so you have a concept of how the universe started or the world or whatever. Forget all that. And this is this version of that. I've been working on this for most of my life. It's essentially chronicling the origins of a world that we, in our current world, whatever we call hell, and it's like a story of how it became a place of misery and torment, starting back from literally day one.
Spoiler: I didn't know that they were in hell. Thanks a lot. The devil guy wasn't a giveaway. But it's a lot of fun. And as an added bonus, if you do the audiobook, you get to hear. I didn't catch. I mean, it's been so long since they introduced the authors and narrators and copyright and all that. The one guy that you have to do the voice, man, this dude is like pro voice actor. I mean, he's just like he hits the chords of what a I'm going to say what a warrior type, like
Mm.
I know a lot of your lizard folk are kind of like calling towards like a lot of Christianity connections and
Mm.
things like that. Like it takes inspiration from a lot of religious aspects, and I get that. I'm drawing a blank because I haven't listened to it today.
Yeah.
Thandril, is that the main
Yeah.
dude?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thandra. Yeah.
Thandril.
Lord
There you go.
Thandra is the main dude, the big red demon guy on the
Main
cover.
lizard dude.
Yeah.
So like his voice is narrated very prominently throughout, and
Right.
Thandrua has a voice that vibes with what I would imagine a dude named Thandrua would sound like.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. Daryl Mayfield does that narration.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, you would know the names. I don't know the names of these audiobook guys. Um, yeah. So like with the audiobook, it's a whole production. You have multiple voice actors. You have. I'm gonna pull this back to just the two of us and get my head out of the blood. Oh, look, I can
Okay.
do that.
Oh, nice.
Wow, it gets worse.
Yeah, now you can see.
Now I can see all of it. I like that though. Bigger cover. Anyway, back to this one. Um, so with that book, I mean I'm getting into it, and there's a lot of world building. If you're into honestly, if you're into a book that is, I'm not going to say Lord of the Rings esque because you're not detailing every rock and every leaf.
Yeah.
But if you want to go into a world that is like, I know people are fans of like Harry Potter and all this stuff because they do build an entire world. Game
Yeah.
of Thrones does it. These books build an entire universe out of nothing. Um, you definitely are up there with that universe building category. You built a Earth out of nothing, and that's no easy feat. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm a portion of the way in. I'm maybe 20-25% into the book, and it's interesting. I do notice like if you are familiar with the Bible, there's some stuff that you're like, okay, okay,
Uh,
I I see something here.
and I
But it's
sprinkle
not
all my little Easter eggs in there, or whatever.
but it's not preachy. It's not religious-y, but it is definitely from a perspective of somebody that may have been to church or has read the stories, heard the stories. It definitely comes from that angle at least, but it's definitely not that. Um,
Yeah,
it's I find it fun. It's so far it's been a fun ride.
yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited that you're listening to it. And yeah, I was raised Catholic as a child. I'm like Guatemalan American. Catholicism is like kind of like the bread and butter of like Latin America for some reason.
Yeah.
Um, oh yeah, I know. Colonization. That's
I was
why.
gonna say there were a couple of guys that nobody expected.
Yeah, but yeah. So I know by the time I was born, my family, or especially my dad, kind of lost faith in like the church because the church started getting like very shady, or at least we're being exposed for being very shady.
They started
So
getting
yeah, I
shady.
did all my studies or whatever at home, and I just always saw like a lot of holes through a lot of the stories that didn't make sense to me, and so I started just kind of making my own fanfic, I guess, in a way to fill up those gaps. And I guess the biggest thing was like trying to like scratch my head, understand that like Lucifer, who is the devil, is like the most gorgeous being of the universe, but then at the same time, the devil is this like grotesque, monstrous thing. And as a kid, I was like, what if there are two different rulers of the same place? And that's kind of how this whole thing came to be.
So you have two deities essentially
Yeah.
that are lumped into the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
What you're like? That's how you.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody
It's
says
like,
the devil's just one entity, but you have this like this headcanon that it's multiple people.
Yeah, it's kind of like the game of telephone, but like over like several thousands of years, someone played telephone, and then now it's like, oh yeah, the baddie is one guy, or whatever.
Well, I mean that's with any kind of history anyway, whether
Yeah.
it's dealing with religion, political, military, anything like that. I mean, it gets passed down, and only the winners tell the story.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's going to get muddled and changed and adapted and altered. So it's a really interesting take, and I'm interested to see where, when I get to the end of this, where does that leave me to get into book 2? Like, it's a big book. Like, I feel like this has to be a beginning, middle, and an end, and we're done. And then you said there's a second book, and I started to sweat immediately.
What's really crazy about it is originally it was gonna be like twice as big. Because I've never been like a fan of series. I'm a I like a one and done kind of thing.
Okay.
Anytime I always wrote stories throughout my life, I always like killed off the main character at the end kind of thing. It's like, I'm not gonna write this again. Whereas with this story, there's a lot. There's just like a lot into it. I've been working on it my whole life, so. I don't know, when I was about 10 years into working on this version of it, I think I decided then that it's going to take me a really long time to write the full story that I want to write into one book. And, let's face it, who's going to, buy a gigantic compendium from a brand new authors? And I know people love series or continuations and stuff, so I decided to split Tenebris, The Unholy Wars, original name, into 2 parts. And the war doesn't really start until the next section, so I changed the name to Unholy Darkness, and I guess gave the name Tenebris, which my mentor, John Darr, inspired that for me. He told me to, he's like, wait, what's the name for Latin, or what's the name for darkness in Latin? And we looked it up, and that's Tenebris, so that's how we got the name there.
It's John Darr's fault.
I don't know, just really cool. Once I finished it up, I was kind of bummed out that I wanted my first book to be like a bigger book, but this is only like 200 some pages. And then as we were getting it ready, realized that I hadn't been paying attention to the word count and was only counting the page number on Word, or on Docs. So the amount of pages was significantly more than what I realized. And that's kind of why I have it in the print copy is a slightly bigger book copy, because we're gonna do the smaller one. It was gonna be 400 plus pages, and it's just oh wow, that's what I was trying to avoid for my first book. So
I want this giant coffee table book.
Yeah,
look at all of my words. Behold.
Yeah, and then what's fun about working on the second part of it, or the second half, is as I was working on that, realizing again that I have so much more to tell with the story than what I was going in to tell. So then that second book has now been split into 2 other books too. So going for the Revere trilogy or whatever.
Oh, it's going to be a threequel?
Yeah, threequel.
Oh boy. Yeah, so I mean, it's a lot of fun because since I've written at least one series so far, the Fubar series, it's always fun to continue the story. You've already done the foundation work in book 1. Yeah. You know who characters A, B, C, and D are. We've established them. That's not to say that they can't grow and gain new character traits, but I don't have to beat their backstory to death. We can just keep on trucking. You just open it up with Vandrua does this thing, and you're you don't have to go, who that? Who's that guy? You don't have to really describe him much anymore. That image should be there. And that's a lot of the joy. You've already created these personalities. Now you just get to go to a new episode, and that's what's a lot of fun, because I did the same thing with Fubar, since I had 3 just drop. Back on March 1st. I gave it to my audiobook narrator, and I apologized to him because and you'll back me up on this, never tell an author who your favorite character is, especially if it's a series. We will kill them. Yeah. We're oh, people actually care about this guy. It
would be a great emotional attachment, or great emotional response if you take them away.
So I did just that. And I did it despite my audiobook narrator, because he was just so delighted with this character. And he's he's so much fun. I would love to hang out with this guy, and he'd be so much fun. He's dead. Dead. And I said, I want to apologize ahead of time. He said, oh, don't apologize. Don't. And then I got an email a couple days later, and he goes, I see why you apologized to me. I'm going to need a minute. And I was like, Mike, take all the time you need, buddy. I know it's, and he gave me headcanon of like where he believes this character is in the afterlife, enjoying life and all of the things that they didn't get to do in the real world. And I'm just like, you created a whole arc for a character that is well, the real life counterpart's very much alive, but like the character in the book is such a fictional character, and you just like, that's the connection that people can have with the characters. Do you think that with any of the Serpenoids that anybody's going to like vibe with? Is there a particular character you're like, this is the guy, this is the one everybody's going to like?
Oh yeah. So I don't know if you've met him yet, but Vander, the Oracle, I think is the likable character. So yeah, wherever you're at right now, a lot of the characters, especially in the first book, are they're very like set in their ways. They're not like great people, great Serpenoids or whatever. They're all kind of very like stubborn, stuck up, and kind of crappy, like real people.
Real lizard people.
Yeah. And that's kind of the point. But then Vander is the voice of reason, and he's I don't know.
He's got to die. You can't have the voice of reason. You just told me that he's dying. You just said he's the voice.
He has a very tragic outcoming, at least, and he's the one I think people would connect with the most, because he has the most like. At least in this first book, by the end of it, Sectorus really does has a really huge character arc, and within the second one too, Sectorus, who's like the main Serpenoid. I feel like people will really vibe with him in the next book, just kind of him understanding the results of all of their the hubris, I guess.
Oh yeah. So you actually got your first comment.
Hey,
put it up here. Hey, look at how that works out. That is from Chris by Layer 3D Printing. He's been a vendor for many years now at FrightReads. I see him everywhere.
Oh, nice.
He's got some cool 3D stuff. If you get a chance to swing by his booth at our event or any event,
right.
He's got some cool stuff. So, yes, I'll answer the first half. Fubar 1 and 2 are available right now. 3, once he's done from his emotional damage, Mike will finish number 3. I expect maybe by summer. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But you can tell everybody where your books are found as well.
Oh yeah, so as far as audiobooks, Tenebris currently, The Unholy Darkness is available as an audiobook. Still working on something for Ravings, and very soon, as we tie up the loose ends in book 2 of Tenebris, The Unholy Quest, we'll be getting right to production on that. And the first book is available just about everywhere. Audiobooks are available except for Audible currently. Should have been up a while ago, and I reached out just yesterday, I think, to one of the sources of what's taking so long. So hopefully they should be uploading it soon. But it's still available on like Libby, LibPro. I can go down the list, but it's literally everywhere.
If you Google it, you will find it.
Yes.
As they say. I just looked. I was like, I know I'm listening to yours on Spotify. I was am I on Spotify? Do I tell people I'm on Spotify? Yeah, apparently, at least Fubar 2 is. So
nice.
Part of the joys of being a self-published author is you learn all the wrong things first. You never learn the right things first.
Oh yeah.
So I publish strictly through Amazon's Audible. And book 1 is probably available on Audible and anybody that they let have it. But beyond that, I use a different program, different system. I think you're using the same one, and it distributes to pretty much everybody except for Audible at this time for you, because why not?
Apparently that's the last
good. That is a good question. We actually got a second question. But yeah, that's I would just do a Google search. As long as I think we have the distribution configured correctly, allegedly the book should also be available through the library. Like you can use You can use the actual library's Libby.
Yeah,
There's
Libby.
Libby. Libby, and I think it used to be like Overture or something like that, or whatever. But I think they consolidated it all down to Libby. You get yourself a library card. They let you do that online now. You don't even have to go in and get a piece of paper. Put in the number that they give you, and you can rent ebooks and audiobooks. And as long as they're available in their system, especially with the digital stuff, they just pull from either a statewide or a nationwide database. So it's free. We don't lose any money. We don't gain any money. It is what it is. They bought it from us initially,
Yeah.
and then they keep library renting it out.
Yeah, it might sound weird to be like, I guess condoning a free outlet or whatever, but yeah, if you can get it through a library, do it. Libraries are awesome. They're very necessary.
Absolutely support the libraries because
Yeah.
they have more than just books, and they'll tell you that. Some of them actually have. I know one of them in Maryland does. They have like a 3D printer workshop, and they do all the other cool stuff. So I mean, they have like a Cricut machine. That you can get kind of resourceful into it. So yeah, if you're layer by layer 3D, if you're looking for either of our books for your nice and long commute, they should be available just about everywhere. Feel free to use your Amazon credit if you find his books eventually pop up there. Amazon credits are just as good as throwing your money at it if you have the membership. So knock yourself out. And we'll go to question number 2 from Tim. Tim,
Hey, Tim.
who is a fellow author, Tim says he'd be curious to hear about how the audiobook came from a production standpoint. If you don't mind. Do you mind?
Oh, yeah, not at all. Yeah, I'm actually like, I really, really loved the production. Like just working on the audiobook was a really great experience, and I'm definitely more than happy to talk about it. Especially give Antoine Bandelet a shout out. He owns and runs his own like independent company called AB Book Services, and that's who I like outsource to produce the audiobook. He's super easy to work with. Is very knowledgeable. Had really good communication considering that we lived on the opposite coasts of the country.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was something I really really liked, and even just like when we first met and like brainstorm on my vision, he even like made some suggestions that would help me like save some costs, which I really appreciate coming from the owner or whatever.
That's always good when they're not there to like bleed you dry. They're actually there to create a good product and hopefully build a professional relationship. Because ideally you want them back for book 2.
Yeah, exactly. And so I actually already reached out to him as soon as I got back from a trip. How I want to work on book 2 with him soon. But it was a really great experience. Just kind of sent a little short scene that had an equal amount of prose and dialogue, and then like maybe within the week or a week later, I got an email with about like over a dozen different narrators reading that sample, and it was just like mind blown to hear so many different voices reading a scene that I wrote. In all different kind of ways, from like the standard to the most theatrical way, and it was
I think you picked one of the more theatrical ones.
Yeah,
because I mean, he's like, what is that ball in the sky? And you're like, what? That's just the sun, dude. Calm down. And
hey,
it burns our flesh.
It's hot.
It burns us, my eyes. And like he's just like the dude is like he's in a $1 million Japanese anime production.
Oh yeah.
Or at least he thought he was and didn't realize he was in your audiobook, because that guy, I mean, credit where credit's due. That's a testament to his professionalism and results. Like it was really good. So yeah, I mean, so I'm going to kind of piggyback off of the production standpoint. I've only used one person. In terms of my audiobooks, I've used Mike, because the only audiobook that I've really produced as of late is the Fubar series. I did have a guy read like a really weird Spooky Tales 1, And another guy read my Tales from an Ex-Husband, my first book, way back when. And he had that sarcasm nailed. That was kind of my requirement. But I've only ever worked with one person, though. What is it like juggling like 87 voice actors? I know there's like 2 or 3.
Oh yeah, there's 3. Daryl Mayfield, Tiana Honey, and Andrew Dos Santos. It was pretty easy. We all kind of just worked through a docs document, like Google Docs. And so we had the manuscript there. Yeah, okay. Just kind of like highlight the chapters that I want whichever narrator to read. Sure. I know, like after we first like started the project, a few weeks went by, and then I quickly like got maybe like the prologue and the first 3 chapters sent to me, and so I got to hear each person do their own thing, kind of just like give my critiques of like more subtle things. There was also like an option to do like live directing, and I can do even more critiquing, but sure. I mostly wanted to see how it rolls on their own, which I thought they did really well, and they did really good with the direction, I guess, that I had like sent, which I sent like a character chart of who the characters are and I guess my visions of them. Okay. Yeah, it was pretty easy. Anytime there was like any kind of mix up, I just highlighted that on the docs, tag their name onto it, and it was fixed pretty easy.
So with real world names, it's a little different, but when you start getting to like the fantasy world type of names where you're getting some
I guess that was
getting into the Games of Thrones and Lord of the Rings side of things, it's like, how do you say this name? Lego what? Legolas. like the block, basically. How many names did your people stumble over that you had to correct, or did they look at it and they were like Thandrua, and you're like, bingo?
Honestly, not as much as I thought they would. I had also did send a pronunciation chart too, for like. Yeah. Well, it was like requested, and which is totally valid. And there's definitely a couple of things I didn't put on the chart, and I remember one person accidentally mispronounced one of the names, and it was unfortunate because it's one of like the main side characters, so it was like said mispronounced throughout a lot of the story, but it was an easy thing for them to just reshoot. But it was just kind of like oh no, they said so and so's name wrong, and it's like, wait, it's everywhere.
So I caught one in the beginning of Fubar 3. Yeah. So Mike sends me over the chapters, and he's like, let me know if there's any issues, and I'm like, yeah, I trust you, you're fine. Don't ever do that, by the way. Don't ever. I trust you, you're fine. You've done 2 other books. I'm sure it's the same thing, just again. It's never the same thing again. Always listen to the product, always proofread, always double check your work, no matter if it's written or audio or otherwise. So I'm listening to it, and it's I think it's the prologue. Yeah, I think it's the prologue, because I never use this character's full name. So you read Fubar, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know the character of X?
Yes.
So X is how she's referred to the entire book, more or less. It's like X does this, X says that, X goes and does this. Very rarely do I call her by her full name, which is Alexopolis.
Oh, okay.
I heard the pronunciation, and it came over, and it's like he said Alexopolis, and I was like, "Ooh, that hurt. What was that? Alexopolis?" And I was like, No. I said like Greek, Metropolis, Necropolis. It's that. It's Alexopolis, like that. And he's like, I feel so bad. I got to go back and re-record all of them. And I was like, good news is we only used the full name once, so you just got to go back and record that one. So yeah, if that's what you're looking for, Tim, from a production standpoint, it's basically just you give them the script and they act fictitiously,
exactly.
They act, and then you're the director, and it's your product at the end of the day. And if you're like, no, that's not how I hear that guy. Can you put a little bit more bass in the voice? Can you say it a little faster, a little slower? That's all up to you. But a good audiobook narrator will knock it out of the park you'll be 80% of the way there, and you'll have to just steer the boat just a tad. But we did get another question. I don't want Mandy to think we forgot about her.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
But it's a very good question from an audiobook production standpoint. Since both of us have produced almost the exact amount of audiobooks.
Yeah, that's true.
I just have a lot of books, but the audiobook thing is just I would also, there's two options in the world. One is going through ACX, which is the Audible, Amazon's backend system, and you can do stuff like royalty share and things like that, where you don't have to pay them. They just get paid off of the books that you sell going forward. So if you sell $1,000 in books, they get a cut, and then after a certain time limit or dollar amount, they're done. They're cut off. They're paid off for their services. I would always go with the fully paid off route, because then you're not tied to strictly Amazon. If you go the fully paid off route, you'll never go wrong. And most audiobooks, if you're looking at a good narrator, probably anywhere from 100 to 200 an hour. And that's for your book hours. And they also take into effect the editing and all of that stuff. Generally speaking, you're probably going to be ready to pony up pushing $1,000. Easily, especially for a mid-sized book. If you're looking at a 5 to 7 hour long book, which is yours is like 15, something crazy.
12 and a half hours.
12 and a half. Yeah. Yours is like 9 years long. Yours is 12 and FUBAR is 5. So I'm going off of mine and looking at yours, and you have multiple narrators. So however that shakes out in the back end, just be ready for that the costs that are entailed, and everything's up front. Nothing's really going to be like blindsiding you. Just ask them, here's the book. Can you do a read and give me a rough idea on the hours that it would take? There's probably a Google thing you can use that says, how long would this take to read?
Oh, yeah, you can probably do it on Google. And then
I think that might be in Microsoft Word for that matter. I don't know. I don't really care. Because I read faster, but I also have a short attention span. Yeah. So I'll read fast, but that'll be like the first chapter, and then 6 years later, I'll do chapter 2. Tim says, awesome info. But yeah, it's just, we definitely talk about that at the FrightReads panels. So the author just 101s and things like that. That's definitely good information to bring to that panel to ask. We do talk about that in depth. Audiobooks, productions, promotion. What do you do after you've made the book? What is phase 2? We get into all of that stuff. So definitely do that.
And I do want to say one last thing about like AV book services, or at least like where we're talking about with the costs. Antoine did like before we even started, like make a little like mock up quote, I guess is what you call it.
He should be able to estimate or quote. They should be able to do that.
Yeah. So that was pretty good. And I think it was even under that too, what the end result was. So
yeah, because sometimes they read faster, but it's better to be prepared for the worst.
Yeah.
Than to get blindsided and say, anyway, it's going to be an extra $1,000.
Yeah.
And then you're like, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and use that money and get a ticket to Guatemala, and you'll never see me again.
Oh, that's what I was like almost doing, I guess. I just got back from Guatemala.
But yeah, like that's kind of your option. So yeah, just communication is key. Work with your narrator and ask questions if you're unsure. As an author, you don't know their end, and vice versa, unless you do audio production. You don't know their end. So always ask questions. Never stop asking questions.
Oh, yeah.
So Mandy has a fun question, and this is 1,000% going to make it awkward, and we're going to have a lot of fun with this one. Do you think readers who are more anti-religious would vibe with your book versus so do you feel like agnostics and things like that are going to be like, hell yeah, Tenebris, this is the book?
Yeah.
Or do you think you're going to offend religious people? Where do you stand with the content of your book in terms of the religious versus non-believing?
Yeah, so it's a great question because I've been asked that before. Like the moment I mentioned it's a biblical twist or whatever, I've had people ask me like, "Oh wait, is this like, if I'm not religious, would I enjoy this?" And 100% yes. It's written it's written for that, I guess. Like the people who have the knowledge of the lore, I guess, in biblical or Christian mythology will like get tickled by the Easter eggs I put in there and a lot of like the twists, but the 100% the story is an anti-religious message or whatever. The themes are what the dangers of blind faith, the dangers of corrupted leaders, all that kind of thing that is involved in Catholicism, and some I guess like I feel like it could be very offensive to especially religious folks, which I mean, if they are, they're offended by a lot of things. So it does have some blasphemous vibes in there, and I guess even agendas. I should say that, I guess, but
you have an agenda.
Well, not it's not like it's happenstance that it's that way.
I would say, speaking of agendas, we have a whole other book that hasn't even been discussed. Let's see how that works when I pull that up. There it goes.
Nice.
So this is your short story collection, as the title says, a collection of short stories by you.
Yeah.
So Ravings of an Unsettled Mind, I remember you sent this over to me and you said, can you read this and then write something about it? And the placeholder that you had for where I was going to write a blurb, it was like, Harry says something here or something like that. It was so like nondescript.
Yeah, Harry says something fun or something clever. Yeah, I can't remember the specific thing. But...
Harry says something clever here, and I was like, and my usual placeholder for like when I was waiting for you to send one over for me. Mm-hmm. My usual placeholder is this book had a lot of words, most of which I understood.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for somebody to just go, no, run with that. I like it. Because honestly, I want that on the back of a book for somebody somewhere. This book had a lot of words, most of which I understood. So with Ravings, it's so where Tenebris was more of a straightforward, I'm going to say a fantasy. It's not quite a fantasy, but it's more of that straightforward format.
Yeah.
There's not horrific elements. There's nothing that's like over the top grotesque. There's nothing really horror about it. It's more of a sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah.
Whereas Unsettled Mind isn't 100% horror, but it's definitely more of a psychological horror. A lot of stuff is more psychological horror. There's not a lot of body horror like that. It's just more of like, what the hell scares you? Anyway, I'm going to write a short story about it. This is what this out of me. So with Ravings, there were a couple of stories where I was just like, yeah, I vibe with that. But I have the Spooky Tales short story collection.
Oh yeah.
And I tell everybody, I love all of my stories equally, but these are my favorites. What were the stories that, obviously you love the entire book? It's great from cover to cover. You should definitely buy it. But if you had to pick, let's say, one or two of the strongest ones that you think hit hardest, which ones do you think out of this collection?
Well, hit hardest. Like, what do you mean? So my two favorites.
Like the ones that you're just. Let's do it this way. Let's say pick your favorite one that has the deepest, I'm going to say, emotional, psychological connection, where you're like, this is based on something that really messed me up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is like, what was your favorite one to write?
Yeah.
Like, which one is the one that you're like, this is just fun, good, clean fun?
Okay. Yeah. All right. First one I'll drop is called Our Happy Family. Which is the second to last story on there.
As I say, that was towards the back. I don't remember where, but second to last. Okay.
Yeah, second to last. Our Happy Family. I'm in the middle of kind of practicing reading a scene for that for an event this weekend, actually. Scholastic Book Fair.
Scholastic Book Fair, or you can come to the author showcase at the library. Either or.
Yeah. That's definitely easily my favorite one in the story. It's about a young girl with their I guess surrogate family or whatever, kind of like misfit group of survivors during a zombie apocalypse, and they're celebrating another year safe. But not all is safe because the young girl's dad has been infected and has turned, and they're keeping him in the basement.
As you
Um,
do.
Yes, and that's essentially the concept of their the major themes in that are dealing with grief, dealing with like the loss of a parent. When I was 17, I lost my dad. That was a really big thing for me, as it would, I guess, not just for me, for the whole family.
Sure.
And I've dealt with that over time. I've developed a lot more grief, over the years, as getting older
Who
tends to do.
who hasn't?
you know, but it's definitely like a driving force in everything I do. I do everything because of the people I don't have in my life anymore, to make sure I honor them well by at least giving a damn, every day. And so our happy family was a really really cathartic way to work on some of that. So it was actually inspired by a dream I had where I guess it's like my dad who is the zombie, and I remember just like going to go feed him in the dream, which was really intense. And when I woke up, I'm just like, I gotta write this down, and I wrote.
What
Um,
did you eat before bed?
um, Not much. I don't know. I try to make sure I haven't eaten in about like 2 hours before I go to sleep. But super active imagination or something. I'm
What
a
Ebenezer
realm
Scrooge said, a
hopper.
bit of bad cheese.
Yeah. I'm a realm hopper. So while I sleep, I transcend to other dimensions, unwillingly. But
That's that's a vivid dream to have, and then say, you know what? That's a short story.
yeah, when
Whatever the time between A and B was, but
yeah, when I first started writing it, I wrote because I don't know, writing a collection of short stories right after I finished a 14-year long manuscript project was kind of challenging, and so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna write a short story, and I wrote a really really long story about this girl and her dad, finding like a safe place, scavenging places and stuff, like writing for a while before they meet any of the other survivors, and then it's just like, wait a minute, I'm trying to write a short story here. Let me flash forward like 3 years into this. Uh,
so you started with writing The Last of Us, basically, and then you were like,
yeah,
no, scratch that, and then you
yeah,
wrote the ending of
exactly.
Shaun of the Dead. What
uh,
a transition!
so yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, another one that I would spotlight that was really fun to write and a really good story. Oh man, it's so hard. I have two in my mind, but I'm gonna go with I'm
As
gonna
always,
go with maybe like the first story of the book, Acceptance, which was also based on a dream. Um, and that's actually one I think about a lot because it ends kind of like abruptly, and like I feel like I could have had like a couple more paragraphs, and it would have had like a nicer, like good like round ending. Well, I don't know. I like the ending, but it's definitely left a lot to interpretation, and maybe that's like the issue I have, where it's like, no, wait, I don't have interpretation here. I have like a specific thing in mind. Uh,
so do you think that maybe that story? Well, if it's the first one or one of the first stories, having it open ended for interpretation, do
mhm.
you think that helps the story, or do you feel like you Stephen King'd it?
um, I think it helps the story because the concept is this guy, I guess a guy and his brother go camping. They go to a cabin, and when they arrive, there's like a demonic entity that's chasing the main guy everywhere until he accepts his fate. And I don't know. I think like the open ending is just kind of like, all right, he like welcomes it in, and it's kind of like, oh, what happened? And it's like, well, he like I don't know. Just my concept of it is it's the afterlife, and I really enjoy twisting the ideas of like heaven or like the good or like angels and stuff. And so, like in my mind, the monster that's chasing them is actually an angel, and he's trying to take the main guy to heaven, but he is resistant to it, and so since he's fighting back, everything seems a lot more terrifying. And I'm a real big Hellraiser fan, so angels to some, demons to others is like a heavy vibe of mine.
Yeah. Because because I love the ambiguous ending where you just kind of let it be open, where you're like, oh no. I like that where you let the reader take it on its own little road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned Hellraiser. I mean, are you talking movie or book?
Well, Hellraiser movie, and then book. Yeah, now I can't remember like the specific book name. It's like this. It's the name of the second movie too, with heart at the end of it. But
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm drawing a blank. You guys know it.
but yeah, leave in the comments. That's your Q&A. You can answer.
Yeah, but yeah, huge fan of the movie. I didn't read the book till just a couple years ago. Actually, I think specifically I like wanted to use a quote from the movie, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't just in the movie to put into my book. And I was like, well, I need to read this book finally, and so I read it, and yeah, then I think the quote was Pinhead saying, "We have such sights to show you," which I can't say.
She saw by the seashore.
Yeah. and I really like that quote, but that's only in the movie. So then, I quote that.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate that it's only in the movie. But you can technically quote the movie. You just have to be more specific. But yeah, it kind of sucks when when a line from the book doesn't make it to the movie, and it's even worse when it's the other way around. You're like, oh man. So my favorite reverse good moment, since you mentioned like a great quote not being in the book.
Yeah.
How about the entire ending to Stephen King's The Mist?
Oh, okay. that whole car scene.
So you either have a scene where they get out, in either case, they get out of the fog.
Yeah.
But in the book, he ends up in a motel and he's looking across the horizon at the mist. And he's writing the book basically, or the story about what's happening. And that's it. It's kind of ambiguous. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess he's fine, but we don't know what's up with the fog. Sure. But then the movie was just like, hey, what if we just ripped your whole heart out, stomped on it, and then I pulled my pants down and took a giant dump on what's left of your heart, and then we roll credits. I think that was, I wish Stephen King would have wrote that ending. My God, what an ending.
Yeah, I love the movie ending.
Any movie ending that has messed me up, that's been it.
Yeah.
That's been like, where you're just like, and I'm a fan of messed up, like, I'm a fan of bad endings, but in the sense that they feel so correct. You're not just like tormenting your main character. You set all the pieces in play, and then the ending is just like, oh no,
that's just what's gonna happen.
It's just that big groan moment where you're like, no, that sucks.
Yeah,
sucks, buddy.
That's like the unfortunate thing of not writing Hallmark stuff, because it's not always going to be a happy ending.
Yeah, and I do that. I do that with a lot of my short stories.
Yeah,
I know you've gone through the trilogy of Spooky Tales,
oh yeah,
right? How often do I write? I think one of them might have been a happy-ish ending. And the rest of them, I think everybody had a bad thing befall them to some degree. Yeah. It does not end well, I should say. Because I'm trying to think of like any of my stories. There's nothing really out there that I can think of that ended in such a positive way where you're like, what a feel-good story. Wow. What a good ending. You just finish it and you're like, oh God, right in the gut.
Yeah.
Look, I thought they were going to make it. I thought that they were going to survive. I thought they were going to make it when the sun came up. Whatever, and they don't. And I'm a huge fan of those kind of endings. So I know you have a 3-parter. Is there anything else in the works outside of Tenebris 2 and 3?
Oh, well, I'm working on a few things, and I guess actually before we leave Ravens, didn't think to mention it when we first brought it up, but Ravens just became a finalist for the Feather Quill Book Awards for short story anthologies. Hey. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. and they actually like sent me like a physical plaque or whatever, which I'm not sure where it is right now.
Somewhere around there.
You know, but yeah, that was super cool. Yeah, finalist is a step. You know, not got to get into the like 3-part tier next. You know.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's getting in the list is an achievement.
No, yeah.
You versus probably 1,000 people that they whittled down to 500, that they whittled down to 200, then 100. So to make it to even the finalists, that's a huge achievement. To even be brought into the fold is another monumentous step. So yeah, I mean, that's awesome. So what do you, aside from your potentially award-winning book, what other award-winning or finalist books are you putting out in the future?
Yeah, so coming up like real soon will be book 2 of Tenebris, The Unholy Quest, comes out in September. And I'm working on like a few other projects, which I always am, I guess. But there's 2 major ones that I'm hoping to have for like the next year. One will be a like sci-fi horror, kind of like a let's just say like a Jurassic Park meets The Running Man, and Greek mythology style, I guess.
But they were running people in Jurassic Park. Remember when we got out, most of them were running.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. Like
I get it.
Style,
so kind of the dystopia mix with dinosaurs.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Not trying to give too much away or whatever.
Yeah.
For all those stealers out there who are stealing stuff.
So, and anyway, the main character's name could be something that rhymes with.
Oh, yeah.
And then your main 3 plot points are, if you had to guess.
And I'm also working on like a middle grade horror book. Trying to like do like a little bit of like a goosebumpsy vibe, but something for younger readers to read, because I always have parents coming up to me and like wondering which of my books can their kids read, and I write for adults, so none of those really work. But
have you ever seen the look of panic in my eyes when they ask, like, my son would like to read your books, and I'm like, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
None of them. Not one of them. They are. I think Spooky Tales 3 is probably the closest I have to a clean book.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like getting that question. So, I've considered jumping into like the YA or the younger demographic for stories, because like you mentioned Goosebumps. That market is coming back. What's this? Welcome to Scareville.
Scareville.
Yeah, we were tabled is it Welcome to Scareville or just Scareville? I don't know.
Welcome to Scareville is a specific book, and then Scareville is the series.
Okay, yeah. I was like, the name sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like we were tabled near him for Blood on the Bookshelves, and that's a market that's coming back, because trying to be everybody wants to be the next Stephen King. The most overlooked one is being the next R.L. Stine.
Oh yeah.
I would personally like to be the next Roald Dahl, to make really messed up stories that kids shouldn't be reading.
And I like to look up to Alan Moore, so got to have like the wild crazy hair, all the like supernatural rumors and stuff in there.
Yeah. That's cool. I guess we don't have any other questions or anything.
I'd like to, I guess, say to Mandy, thanks for asking your question. That was a good question. Looking forward to meet you in September as well.
Yeah, you'll have a hard time finding me, but I'm pretty sure you'll find one of us. If you look carefully, you'll see a blur that is in my shape, going from one end of the building to the other. Perks of running a whole festival. Hooray. But Ryan will be manning the fort at my table and will sell you the books based on the color of their covers and the picture. Like, this one has a bird on it, and you would really like to buy it. You should buy this book. It is green, and that is a good color. It works.
Were you ever a fan of That 70s Show?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you reminded me of there's an episode where Red is working at like Bob's appliance store or whatever, and he's
Yep.
like having to learn how to sell like appliances to like to women or whatever, and it's like not actually give like the super deep cut spiel of like what the appliance actually does, but then it's just like, and it's like killing him inside of just like, all right, it's in this color, and just like holding back like all the other information.
All the technical stuff is just
Yeah.
eating him alive. He's like, I want to tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a fun show. That '90s show just kind of, it was all right. It was watchable, but I was like, where are their Jenko jeans? That's my thing. Our pants weren't that tight in the '90s. Are you kidding me? The wider
like
you get them, the better. They were falling off of you. They had straps on them. They were an absolute disaster to wear. What the hell was wrong with us? But yeah, we look like we got thrown up out of a Hot Topic too. So
yeah,
none of the kids in that show looked that way. But what are you gonna do? Speaking of Red Foreman, I've been on this like RoboCop kick.
Oh yeah.
I just downloaded the game.
Oh okay. Like a newer game or
new-ish, like the last 2 years or so.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize they did one.
Yeah, they got the original RoboCop, the voice.
Oh, sweet.
It's open world in like separate areas. Like you'll explore downtown, and you can explore like multiple city blocks. And the second that you go, oh, I wish I had a bigger map, you realize that RoboCop doesn't run, and you're just.
Oh wait, so
and you're just like, come on, let's go.
It sounds a little painstaking, but also super cool. I always love RoboCop.
I shot a guy in the dick as one of my first achievements.
Hell yeah, that's what you do.
If you're gonna do anything as RoboCop, shoot a guy in the dick.
Yeah.
And that was an achievement. And I was a little too delighted about that. So I know we are having you for both Halfway to Halloween and FrightReads proper this fall. Which show? It's a dumb question, but which one are you more excited for?
More excited? I mean, I don't know, I guess FrightReads is the bigger one, but like, but Halfway to Halloween is sooner. So, and I don't really develop excitement, like how normal people I think develop it. So I'll say Halfway to Halloween because it's sooner, and I can feel it more.
This is true.
But I mean, FrightReads is awesome. I love FrightReads. I'm not just saying that because I'm on your thing and you're the guy that runs it. But
you have to say that you're contractually obligated.
Shh, don't tell them. But it's the event that I look forward to every year. It's always a fun time. Really good group of people. The special guests are always like such a nice like delight. Except
for that Jeff Strand. Actually, what's really cool about it is, so when it started on the first year, we had 20 tables of vendors. 19 showed up. Richard Chismar was our first guest author that we ever had.
Oh yeah,
and he's been back for one other year. That was his last
year. Last year,
and he looked around and he said, I think his words were, "Holy shit. Look at this." And he remembers in the basement of a community center, this little event that did. And that's what he was kind of looking at. So we went from that to networking with a couple of different people, making friends and sending emails and harassing people until Jeff Strand finally went, fine. No, I'm kidding. We read his short story and I was like, Jeff, I got to have you here just on the grounds of a short story we read. I'm sure the rest of your works are fine. They are. We've gone through like 2 or 3 books of his and they're fantastic. But like we have like Jeff Strand, Bridget Nelson, Adam Caesar, who has a movie coming out literally in like a month or two.
May 9th.
May 9th. Yeah, I was like, it's literally coming out. He'll have the Blu-rays for our event. And Adam's been nothing but fantastic. He's he's the nerdiest guy you'll ever talk to, and he fits right in with the rest of us. You can talk to him about, Star Wars. You can talk to him about Hellraiser, and then switch over to like tabletop gaming. Like, the guy is just like a really down to earth dude. So you definitely want to come to the event and meet somebody like him. Some of the stuff that we're doing in both events, we have free face painting. So we say for kids of all ages, wink, wink, hint, hint.
You can get my Darth Maul face paint going on,
So if you want the whole ordeal, that might cost you more. But
what if it's just this amount, because the rest of me is hair.
That's fair. You'll have to talk to Jolene.
Yeah.
It is up for her discretion, but pretty much all generalized face painting, little unicorns or Jack Skellingtons or something. We paid for it. It's covered. It's taken care of. It's done. Come in and get some free face painting for the kids. They're happy. You didn't pay $20, $30 for a face paint. So everybody's happy. And now you can spend that money on, Tenebris 8 or whatever book you're on by that time.
Yeah, I actually have plans of like in between stories that aren't part of the main thing, because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I love that there's so much that's not like the main story, I guess, out there, or at least there used to be before, like, they decided to throw it all away and call it Legends or whatever. But yeah, I'm a big fan of like expanding the universe, and so I have some things up my sleeve for when people are eagerly waiting for book 3 or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. But yeah, it's just it grew from just this little hole in the wall with no Wi-Fi. I mean, we have horror stories from year 1. And
that's the thing, right? Just you're supposed to have horror stories, right?
I have horror stories from every year, but none of them are year 1.
Yeah.
But like last year was a lot of fun. Like Jeff and Bridget were absolutely just wonderful guests. The fairy godmother was so lovely. Even if you're not into Descendants, you're not into the Disney teeny bopper singing and High School Musical-y type of stuff, doesn't matter. She was the greatest person you've ever met. I'll die on that hill. We had the people under the stairs were awesome. Did you end up getting over there to see any of them?
Oh yeah. Talk with all of them, and actually like right, that little nice. I'm pointing directly on it. That little thing
that never happens.
Like, the poster, and I had the whole like cast
nice.
Sign it. It was super cool. And I really love that movie too. It's such a
terrible movie, and I love it.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird because you're watching it and you're like, what?
Yeah, it's such a weird movie. It's strange, kind of campy, and then like just has such a like a relatable message or whatever. It's like, damn, this is like
it's so politically driven. Like it's got such a powerful like underlying message.
Yeah.
But that's instantly just covered up by the guy with a shotgun wearing a gimp suit.
Yeah, and I love me a gimp suit. So.
Gotta love a good gimp suit. Yeah, but like we got that. I don't know if you saw today. It's actually going on the ticker right now. Jane Jensen from Tromeo and Juliet.
Oh, sweet. Jane Jensen.
Nice. And she's a music person, so I think you'll vibe with her too, because I know you enjoy the music people.
Oh yeah. I like I'm a musician myself. The audiobook of Tenebris has my own original music by me and my partner Howard.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because it's like your narrator will announce the chapter and it'd be like chapter 4, the lizard people are still walking, and then it'll be like wow, and you're like, all right, what a vibe. Like, I don't think I've ever really listened to too many audiobooks that had a transition like that, so that was kind of cool.
Nice.
But yeah, we're gonna have Jane there. I have another announcement for next week. She how do I phrase a spoiler without fully giving it away? She gave birth to the man of your dreams.
Oh.
Hey.
Whoa.
Oh. And I have another author on the docket. We're waiting on that to finalize with working with Capricos Books. So there's a lot of stuff. Everything, of course, is fully available, as well as tickets at FrightReads.com. Look at how that timed out. I was just like, boop. It's all in FrightReads.com. You can see every author. One of the cool things that we do, and we won't stop doing, we're going to give you the bio of the author as well as links to view their books. Whatever they give me is what I share you. So in this case, if you go over to our website, you're going to see this lovely link tree, and it takes you to every single one of the links for every book ever.
Yes, it's very cluttered.
Literally every social media platform and all of the books. But what you can do with that, one of the great things that that the bookstores all do is you can read the synopsis. Some of them, like Amazon, lets you do a book preview, and you can read the first, 10 pages, 20 pages, something. You read a percentage of the book. You can start reading it and go, wow, okay, I think this is the book I want to buy. And you can mark out our authors that we have, unless we say otherwise that they're not going to be there. Track them down on the floor plan. Go right to them and meet them. Buy their books. It's one of the greatest things when you're an author and you see somebody, like, they're not just walking down the aisle, they're looking at you and they're coming directly for you. And they're just like, I need your books. There's no better feeling as an author than to see something like that. So definitely put Tenebris on your list, or Ravings of an Unsettled Mind. Either of those books are a lot of fun. Two different vibes, so it's kind of good that you do that. But it's been about an hour. I gave it an extra 10 minutes or so because we got kind of started a little later with people kind of trickling in. So, welcome to your first author talk. We'll definitely have you for the following year. Yay! And I hope everybody had a good time asking all their pertinent questions. I'll probably make some adjustments to this overlay because I'm learning where things are landing, and I don't like where they land sometimes. Bats worked out good though.
Oh yeah, I like the bats. It's fun having the blood drips like on your face, but but also you don't want to be obscured like that.
But it's fine because it's me. I'm not the focus you are. So as long as you don't end up there, we're good. So it looked like everything worked out okay. I know next week we're going to go live at 8:00 on Tuesday.
Okay.
It's actually I believe Tim who was asking some questions about the audiobooks.
Oh, nice.
I believe Tim is going the next go around, and then we have Brian Paoni. Can't get rid of the guy.
All right, nice.
He's the following Tuesday because I have very important things like seeing Shucked. But otherwise, they typically should be falling on Wednesdays. But the next two subsequent ones will be Tuesday for my personal reasons.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's a lot of fun, and that everybody enjoyed our little live video. And you won't see them next week, but I will see you all next week. Thanks for watching, and stay safe, and buy some tickets to Fright Reads. Buy the movie tickets and see all the fun movie people and their awful B movies on the big screen. And we can all
I'm excited that there's movies this year.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to it. I think Shriek Show is going to be a lot of fun. They're all available on streaming, but why do that when you can see it on a giant 70-foot screen?
Oh yeah.
It probably doesn't deserve to be that large, but we're going to do it anyway. And it's going to be a lot of campy fun. Support local artists always, and these guys are local movie makers. And we're going to have them on hand to do Q&A. During the movie, we're going to have a Q&A, and the tickets are inexpensive. It's $8 a movie, $14 for the set. You can't beat that. That's not even regular. That's not even Tuesday discount prices.
Yeah,
you don't even get
that's like back in the day prices.
So yeah, definitely check that out. Those tickets are separate from Fright Reads halfway to Halloween, so you don't even got to come see us. I highly recommend you do, but you can do both. You can do one or the other. I recommend doing all of it, and it's a lot of fun. Tickets are limited seating for the theater. I can't stress that enough. I have 40 seats, and I think 10 are taken up by cast, crew, and immediate, ancillary people, because if I have one of my people sit in there, then that's a seat. Even though they're not watching the movie, that's a seat. So we're we have like 30 seats that we can work with, and I think we're at about 19 or 20 left.
Nice.
So definitely jump on that. But we'll see you guys next time. See y'all at Halfway to Halloween if you show up. Or if we
Thanks
see
for
you at
having me, Ray.
AwesomeCon, we'll be there at AwesomeCon together in like, what, 2 weeks?
Oh yeah, it's very soon, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Yes, it is. Yes, that means I get to get another traffic ticket and and fight with my hotel. The joys of AwesomeCon. So if you do, you'll see us there. If you don't go, we'll see you at Halfway to Halloween. Bye, everybody.
Toots.